Welcome to HFY Stories. If you're ready for jaw-dropping stories and a universe full of excitement, hit that subscribe button like it's the big red button in a space opera. Give us a like if you're feeling that interstellar vibe and comment below to join the conversation. We want to hear from you. Yes, you, the spacefarer with a great story idea or just a fan of epic human victories. Chancellor Kerry of the Sedge tried to stifle a yawn with one of his tentacles, his irritation growing at being awakened in the middle of the night. Whatever the Supreme Chancellor deemed important enough to summon the ruling council at this hour had better be good. He struggled to stay awake, waiting for the rest of the council members to assemble. His interest peaked when the Supreme Chancellor entered, followed by 6 other figures. 5 he recognized as the members of the coalition's military high command, and 1 unknown officer, a human. It was rare for all 5 members of the high command to attend a session, especially one called in the dead of night. The Supreme Chancellor, Sojuhir, called for order and addressed the assembly with an apologetic tone. "My friends, I regret disturbing your rest cycles, but the situation is dire. Fleet Admiral Timur, would you brief the council?" Fleet Admiral Timur nodded and gestured to the unknown officer. "This is Legate Nasenna, head of military intelligence. She has critical information to share." The legate, a human woman, stepped forward, bowing respectfully before activating the chamber's holo-imager. A map of the coalition's territory appeared, zooming into Sector 5, near the unclaimed space on the border with human territory. It was a region of little interest, save for scientific studies of stellar phenomena. But now, it highlighted a different concern: its proximity to human space. The humans, Fleet Admiral Timur began, have always been an enigma. They joined the galactic community only a century ago, yet they've proven themselves formidable. The Pax learned this the hard way when they underestimated the humans' military capabilities, despite their less advanced technology. The Admiral paused, letting the Council recall the brief but brutal conflict between the humans and the Pax. The humans, through sheer ingenuity and adaptability, turned the tide of a war that should have been an easy victory for the Pax. Instead, it ended with the humans securing several star systems in exchange for lenient peace terms. Terms that baffled the galaxy, but eventually led to a lucrative alliance between humans and Pax. As the map zoomed in further, it highlighted System T-57-284. This system was home to several small colonies, Timur said, his voice grave. "I say was because they no longer exist. Every trace of life, every material, organic or otherwise, has been eradicated." The council erupted in shocked murmurs. What could do such a thing? Chancellor Key demanded. The Admiral signaled the legate to bring up another file. The holo-imager displayed a dark, comet-like object. "This," Timur continued, "is what we've come to call the Scourge. It's an ancient threat, recorded over a millennium ago by a derrick ship that drifted into our space from beyond the galaxy. The ship's crew was long dead, but its database contained a dire warning about a horde of mechanical life forms that consume everything in their path, organic matter for energy, and non-organic for replication. Trillions of them have already devoured entire sectors of the galaxy from which the derrick ship originated." The council members stared in horror at the dark mass in the holo-imager, a quintillion-strong force of unstoppable machines. "And now," Timur said, "it's here, moving through unclaimed space towards our populated systems. We estimate it will reach our borders in 27 days. Is there nothing we can do?" Chancellor Kerry asked, his voice a mix of fear and desperation. "We can try to slow them down," the Admiral replied, "but the odds of success are less than 1%. Our best option is to evacuate the worlds in its path and minimize any artificial signals that might attract them." The Supreme Chancellor spoke up. "We've already informed the humans. They are, after all, our closest neighbors to this impending disaster." 20 days later, Chancellor Kerry attended another briefing, expecting the usual updates on the Scourge's advance. But this time, there was something different. Fleet Admiral Timur looked unusually tense as he began his report. The Scourge has reached the human system known as Alpha Centauri, Timur announced, his voice tinged with disbelief. Our observation drones captured this image an hour ago. The holo imager showed a black cloud engulfing the planets of Alpha Centauri. The council chamber fell deathly silent as the image played out. The Admiral continued, "We also received a fragment of data, something we couldn't explain until now. The humans, they set a trap." "A trap?" one of the councillors asked, confused. The Fleet Admiral nodded slowly. "They lured the Scourge into the system using massive amounts of artificial signals. And then, they destroyed their star. They caused Alpha Centauri to go supernova. The chamber exploded into chaos. They destroyed an entire star system." Chancellor Key shouted, horrified. The Admiral raised his hand for silence. "The humans had a plan, one we would never have imagined. They sacrificed a star to eliminate the Scourge in one fell swoop. And now, they show the galaxy that they have the power to destroy a star." "But how?" Chancellor Kerry asked, his voice barely a whisper. "They won't tell us," the Admiral replied, shaking his head. "They claim it was a one-time deal, a secret weapon they can't replicate. They called it an ancient Chinese secret and refused to elaborate." The Supreme Chancellor looked around the chamber, his expression somber. "The humans have changed the balance of power in the galaxy. We must tread carefully, for they have proven to be both the galaxy's greatest defenders and its most dangerous inhabitants." The session ended, but the weight of what had been revealed lingered. The galaxy would never be the same, knowing that the humans held such power in their grasp. The council chamber was eerily quiet after the last meeting adjourned. The revelation that humans could destroy a star had shaken every member to their core. Chancellor Kerry remained in his seat, lost in thought, long after the others had left. The implications were staggering, not just that the humans had destroyed a star, but that they had done so with such calculated precision and cold resolve. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. 3 days later, the Supreme Chancellor had called another emergency meeting, this time with a broader group of leaders from across the coalition and beyond. It was clear this was not just a coalition matter anymore. It concerned every sentient being in the galaxy. As the various dignitaries settled into their places, a tense atmosphere permeated the room. The holo imager showed the aftermath of Alpha Centauri's supernova, an empty void where planets, moons, and the Scourge once existed. It was a chilling reminder of what had happened. Supreme Chancellor Tsujui stood, addressing the gathering. "Distinguished members of the galactic community, the events of the past few days have changed everything. The humans, who were once considered a minor player in our affairs, have demonstrated a power that none of us could have imagined. The destruction of Alpha Centauri was a calculated act of survival, but it also raises many questions about their true capabilities and intentions." The holo imager flickered, displaying a new image: the Earth, the human homeworld. "We have reached out to the humans for further dialogue," Soju continued. "They have agreed to send a delegation to discuss the current situation and what their actions mean for the galaxy at large." A murmur spread through the chamber. Everyone was eager to hear from the humans, but there was also fear. What kind of species could destroy a star, and what else might they be capable of? Later that day, the human delegation arrived, a small group of representatives led by a man named Ambassador Jackson Reyes. He was flanked by military officers, their demeanor calm but alert. The council chamber fell silent as they entered. "Ambassador Reyes," the Supreme Chancellor began, "thank you for joining us. We understand the gravity of what has happened, and we seek to understand your actions, as well as the implications for the rest of us." Ambassador Reyes nodded, his expression serious. "Thank you, Supreme Chancellor. We understand your concerns. The destruction of Alpha Centauri was a last resort, a decision we did not take lightly. We were faced with an existential threat, the Scourge, an enemy that could have consumed our entire galaxy if left unchecked. He paused, letting his words sink in. The device we used was a relic from our past, a weapon from a time when humanity was on the brink of destroying itself. It was created during what we call the Stellar Wars, a period of intense conflict before we united as a species. The weapon was meant to ensure our survival in the face of overwhelming odds, but after the wars ended, it was deemed too dangerous to ever be used again. However, when we learned of the Scourge, we realized it was our only hope. The chamber was silent as Reyes continued. We understand that our actions may have alarmed you, but our intention was not to show our strength or intimidate. It was to protect all life in this galaxy. The Scourge would not have stopped at Alpha Centauri. They would have continued devouring world after world. We did what we had to do. Chancellor Kerry spoke up, his voice betraying the unease he felt. But what happens now, Ambassador? You've shown that you possess technology far beyond what any of us imagined. How can we be sure that this power won't be used against us? Reyes met Kerry's gaze calmly. We have no desire to conquer or dominate. Humanity has learned from its past mistakes. We seek to live in peace, to trade, explore, and share knowledge. But we also understand that the galaxy is a dangerous place. The Scourge was just one of many threats that exist beyond our borders. We must all be prepared. One of the other counselors, a member of the Relic species, chimed in. Are you saying there are more threats like the Scourge out there? Reyes nodded. The galaxy is vast and full of unknown dangers. The Scourge came from a region we have yet to explore, but we believe there may be other forces out there, perhaps even more dangerous. This is why we propose an alliance, a mutual defense pact between humanity and the other species of the galaxy. Together, we can face these threats and ensure our collective survival. The room buzzed with discussion. The idea of an alliance with the humans was both appealing and terrifying. On one hand, their technology and military prowess could be invaluable. On the other hand, aligning with a species that had just demonstrated the ability to destroy a star was a daunting prospect. Supreme Chancellor Sajudi called for order. We will take your proposal under serious consideration, Ambassador Reyes. But we must also consider the ramifications of such an alliance. The galaxy must remain a place of peace and cooperation, not one of fear and destruction. Reyes nodded in agreement. We understand, Supreme Chancellor. Our goal is to ensure that peace is maintained, not just for humanity, but for all species. We hope you will see the value in working together, especially in the face of threats like the Scourge. The days that followed, debates raged across the galaxy. Some species were eager to align with the humans, seeing their strength as a shield against future threats. Others were more cautious, wary of giving too much power to a species that had shown it could wipe out entire star systems. Meanwhile, the humans quietly withdrew, respecting the galaxy's need for time to deliberate. But they didn't withdraw completely. Ambassador Reyes and his delegation remained on standby, ready to answer questions and provide more information when asked. Behind closed doors, the Coalition's high command began discussing contingency plans. If they couldn't control the humans, they needed to at least ensure they were prepared for any outcome. But even as they strategized, they couldn't escape the nagging fear that humanity might be the only thing standing between them and another galaxy-wide catastrophe. A month later, the Coalition Council reconvened, this time with representatives from nearly every major species in the galaxy. After weeks of debate, a decision had to be made. The Supreme Chancellor stood, addressing the Assembly. We have weighed all the options, considered every angle. The truth is, we face a future of uncertainty. But we must decide, do we stand with the humans, or do we face the unknown dangers of the galaxy alone? Ambassador Reyes stood as well, prepared to hear their decision. The room was tense, every being holding their breath. Finally, Chancellor Kerry rose. "We have our reservations, Ambassador. But we also recognize the need for unity in the face of such overwhelming threats. We are willing to accept your proposal for an alliance, but it must be one of equals, based on trust, transparency, and the shared goal of protecting this galaxy." Reyes nodded, a hint of relief in his expression. "That is all we ask, Chancellor." With that, the galaxy's fate was sealed. The humans, once seen as newcomers to the galactic community, had now become its protectors, and potentially its most dangerous ally. The alliance was forged, but the future remained uncertain. For now, the galaxy would stand together, but shadows loomed on the horizon. Humanity had proven they could destroy, but could they also protect? Only time would tell if this newfound partnership would bring peace, or if it would be the catalyst for a new era of conflict. 6 months later, the alliance between humanity and the coalition, known as the Galactic Concord, quickly became the most significant political and military entity in the galaxy. Humans were no longer just members of the galactic community. They were at its forefront, leading efforts to defend against unknown threats, while also shaping the future of interstellar relations. But with great power came great responsibility and scrutiny. As humanity took on a more prominent role, they found themselves navigating a complex web of political, ethical, and moral challenges. Within humanity's own ranks, a heated debate emerged. Some factions argued that with their newfound power, humans should take a more dominant stance in galactic affairs, ensuring their security by exerting control over strategic regions. Others, particularly those within the United Earth Government and the United Nations of Earth, UNE, advocated for restraint, emphasizing diplomacy, cooperation, and the sharing of technology with their allies. Ambassador Jackson Reyes became a key figure in this debate, walking a delicate line between the military's desires for preparedness and the political leaders' commitment to peaceful engagement. His experience during the Scourge crisis had shown him the necessity of both strength and diplomacy, and he worked tirelessly to balance these forces. Technological renaissance and ethical quandaries. The destruction of Alpha Centauri had a profound impact on humanity's scientific community. The revelation of such advanced and dangerous technology prompted an era of rapid innovation and exploration. Scientists, engineers, and researchers delved into ancient human technologies, seeking to understand and control them better. However, this renaissance came with ethical dilemmas. The technology that had destroyed a star, dubbed the Stellar Lance, was dismantled, studied, and locked away, its secrets known only to a select few. The possibility of replicating such power, even with the knowledge that it could save billions of lives, was a moral burden. Humanity had to decide how far they were willing to go in their pursuit of power, knowing that the same tools could be used for great good or unspeakable harm. Debates raged over whether this knowledge should be shared with their allies in the Galactic Concord. Some argued that transparency would build trust and ensure collective security, while others feared that sharing such power could destabilize the fragile balance of power in the galaxy. The first test of the Concord. The first real test of the Galactic Concord came sooner than expected. Reports from the edges of the galaxy indicated the emergence of a new threat, a species known as the Karnax, a race of nomadic conquerors who had been driven from their own galaxy and were now seeking new worlds to dominate. Unlike the Scourge, the Karnax were a sentient and highly militarized species, capable of strategic thinking and diplomacy, but ruthless in their expansionist goals. The Karnax saw the Galactic Concord as a challenge to be crushed. They began a campaign of terror on the outermost worlds, using hit-and-run tactics to destabilize the region and sow fear among the Concord's members. The human-led fleet, now integrated with ships and technology from various species within the Concord, was mobilized to confront this new enemy. It was a chance to prove that the Alliance could stand together in the face of adversity. A new era of galactic warfare. The conflict with the Karnax was unlike anything the galaxy had seen in millennia. It was a war fought not just with weapons, but with ideologies and the battle for the hearts and minds of countless worlds. The humans, with their advanced tactics and technology, played a pivotal role in the early victories. However, they quickly realized that their strength alone would not be enough. Ambassador Reyes, now also a high-ranking diplomat within the Concord, pushed for a strategy that combined military might with diplomacy. He proposed a daring plan. Rather than simply fighting the Karnax, they would seek out factions within the Karnax themselves who were dissatisfied with their leadership. Reyes believed that by offering these factions a place within the Concord, they could weaken the Karnax's resolve and bring an end to the war more quickly. This approach was controversial, particularly among the more war-hardened members of the military. But Reyes insisted that victory at the cost of countless lives and resources would only lead to further conflict down the line. The real victory, he argued, was in creating a lasting peace. The tipping point. As the war dragged on, the Karnax began to suffer from internal strife, just as Reyes had predicted. His diplomatic overtures to certain Karnax leaders bore fruit, leading to defections and even a small civil war within the Karnax ranks. The Galactic Concord capitalized on this chaos, launching a series of decisive strikes that crippled the Karnax fleet and forced their leadership to the negotiating table. In a historic treaty, the Karnax were offered a place within the Galactic Concord, provided they renounced their expansionist ways and worked towards rebuilding the worlds they had devastated. It was a risky move, but it paid off. The Karnax, weary from years of war and facing the prospect of annihilation, agreed. Humanity's role in a new galactic order. The end of the Karnax War marked a turning point for humanity and the Galactic Concord. Humanity had proven that they could lead not just through strength, but through wisdom and diplomacy. The alliance grew stronger, with more species joining in the hope of securing peace and prosperity. But with this success came new challenges. Humanity's influence in the galaxy was now undeniable, and with it came the responsibility of leadership. The United Earth government had to navigate the complexities of interstellar politics, balancing their own interests with those of their allies. The memory of the Stellar Lance and the destruction of Alpha Centauri still loomed large. It was a reminder of the terrible power that humanity held and the need to wield it responsibly. The galaxy watched humanity closely, some with admiration, others with fear, and all with curiosity. The search for balance. As the Galactic Concord settled into a period of relative peace, humanity turned its attention to exploration and knowledge. The remnants of the Scourge, the secrets of ancient civilizations, and the mysteries of the galaxy's uncharted regions beckoned. Humanity knew that their future lay not just in their ability to wield power, but in their capacity to grow, learn, and coexist with the myriad species of the galaxy. They had saved the galaxy once, and now they sought to ensure that it remained a place where all could thrive. The journey ahead was uncertain, but humanity had shown that they could adapt, overcome, and lead. The challenge was to do so in a way that honored their values and upheld the peace they had fought so hard to achieve. As they ventured into the unknown, humanity understood that their greatest test was not in defeating enemies, but in becoming the guardians of a galaxy where war, fear, and destruction were things of the past. The Karnax before the war. The Karnax were a nomadic species that had long roamed the stars, driven from their home galaxy by a cataclysmic event. Hardened by millennia of conflict and survival in hostile environments, they became fierce and relentless in their pursuit of new territories. Their society was strictly hierarchical, ruled by a warrior class that believed in strength as the ultimate measure of worth. When the Karnax entered the Milky Way, they viewed the Galactic Concord as a threat to their survival and ambitions. Their initial strategy was simple: crush any resistance and establish dominance over the galaxy's weaker species. However, they underestimated the resilience and unity of the Concord, particularly the humans who led the alliance. The The turning point: internal strife and diplomacy. As the war with the galactic concord dragged on, the Karnax began to suffer from internal dissent. Not all within their ranks agreed with the leadership's aggressive expansionism. Some factions, especially those who had seen the devastation of countless worlds and the loss of their own people, began to question the wisdom of endless war. Ambassador Jackson Rice, a key figure in the Galactic Concord, recognized this internal conflict as an opportunity. He initiated secret diplomatic channels with these disaffected Karnax factions, offering them an alternative to the cycle of destruction. Rice proposed that the Karnax could secure a place within the Concord, where they could rebuild their society and live in peace, rather than face inevitable annihilation. This diplomatic effort was met with suspicion and skepticism at first, but the continued losses and the realization that the Concord would not easily be defeated led some Karnax leaders to consider the offer. The internal divisions within the Karnax deepened, leading to a brief but intense civil conflict. This civil war weakened the Karnax forces, making them vulnerable to coordinated strikes by the Concord's fleet. The Treaty of Unity. The turning point came when the Karnax's supreme commander, Lord Valthar, was overthrown by a coalition of moderate leaders who favored peace. Realizing that continued war would only lead to the extinction of their people, the new Karnax leadership sought peace with the Galactic Concord. The Treaty of Unity was a historic agreement that ended the conflict. The Karnax were granted membership in the Galactic Concord, provided they renounced their expansionist policies and participated in the rebuilding of the worlds they had devastated. In exchange, they were given territories where they could settle and rebuild their society under the protection of the Concord. The treaty was not without its challenges. Many within the Concord, particularly those who had suffered at the hands of the Karnax, were wary of welcoming their former enemies into the alliance. However, Ambassador Reyes and other leaders argued that integrating the Karnax was the best way to ensure lasting peace and prevent future conflicts. The Karnax after the war. The integration of the Karnax into the Galactic Concord was a complex process. Their society had to adapt to new norms of cooperation and diplomacy, which was a significant cultural shift for a species that had long valued strength and conquest above all else. However, the Karnax proved to be resilient and adaptable. The Karnax used their extensive knowledge of warfare and survival to contribute to the defense and exploration efforts of the Concord. Their warriors, once feared as invaders, became respected members of the Concord's military forces. They also played a crucial role in frontier regions, using their experience in harsh environments to help settle and protect new worlds. In return, the Karnax benefited from the advanced technology and resources of the Concord, which allowed them to rebuild their society and improve the living conditions of their people. Over time, the younger generation of Karnax, who had grown up within the Concord, began to adopt more cooperative and diplomatic approaches, slowly transforming their society. Challenges and opportunities. Despite the progress, challenges remained. The Karnax still struggled with their reputation as former conquerors, and mistrust lingered among some species within the Concord. Additionally, there were occasional flare-ups of old rivalries and conflicts within Karnax society, as not all were content with the new path of peace. To address these issues, the Concord established programs to promote cultural exchange, understanding, and reconciliation between the Karnax and other member species. These efforts were supported by leaders on both sides who were committed to ensuring that the hard-won peace endured. The future of the Karnax. As the Karnax continued to integrate into the Galactic Concord, they became a symbol of the potential for even the most aggressive species to change and find a place in a cooperative galactic order. Their transformation from feared invaders to valued allies demonstrated the power of diplomacy, understanding, and the willingness to embrace change. Looking forward, the Karnax were poised to play a significant role in the future of the galaxy. Their unique perspective and experiences added depth to the Concord, making it stronger and more diverse. The lessons learned from the Karnax's integration would shape the Concord's approach to future conflicts and the inclusion of other species. In the end, the Karnax's journey from conquerors to allies was a testament to the possibility of redemption and the power of unity in the face of adversity. As the galaxy entered a new era of exploration and discovery, the Karnax stood alongside their former enemies, now friends, ready to face whatever challenges the cosmos had in store.